Welcome to another episode of season 4, or maybe this is the first episode we'll have of season 4 of the Runners Roundtable. This season's all about conversations with runners, and I am so excited to have Julie Weiss with me here today. And I don't want to say anything else because I like people to tell their own story, but I will share that I have been following you for a while, and I am in awe of what you have been able to accomplish on so many different levels. So before we dive into all of that, how about we just start off with you telling us about yourself and how you got into running?
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's so nice to be here. I am honored. How did I get into running? Well, actually, I think, in my late 30s, and I was overweight. I was very depressed, single mother, just sort of going through the motions of my daily life and feeling really, really stuck. And I got a dog, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go for a run with my dog. And she was my first running partner, and I was still, really, really just depressed, probably one of my lowest points of my life. And we went on a trip to Hawaii with my family. And I thought on that trip, that was it. I was going to get healthy. I made a pact. I was going to get healthy and I was going to start running. And I'll tell you, I just went out for about 20 minutes. I was like, great idea, right? 20 minutes. And I was struggling. I thought I had run like 10 miles, but I was going way too fast. My heart rate was too high, but I felt like I was dying sort of, but something inside of me came alive that day. And I felt connected to my body. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to keep running when I get home. And so I did.
I love that that juxtaposition of I felt like I was dying, but I also came alive. And I think that's something that a lot of us, when we first start off running, and I know I had those same thoughts too of, oh, it's 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. Like, that's no big deal. And then you go out there and you're like, wait, what? Like that's actually really, really hard. So how did you progress into, I guess the question is, why don't you share with everyone, what's your Instagram handle?
Oh, thank you. It's Marathon Goddess, at Marathon Goddess. Yeah. And
how'd you get from 20 minutes to being a marathon goddess?
I guess you could say I caught the running bug, like so many of us do. There's a lot that goes into the name Marathon Goddess, and I always say it's not about me. It's about embracing whatever your passion is and letting that shine. So there are many marathon goddesses, whatever it is you love to do. You could be a goddess of cooking, gardening, dancing. Anyways, I saw the name on a shirt actually at an expo, and I was like, oh, that is cool. And I went and checked it out and make sure it wasn't taken. And so then I trademarked it, and that's how I got the name Marathon Goddess, because I just started running farther and farther, and I be able to run from one lifeguard tower to the next, and that was such an accomplishment without walking. It's about 100 meters. And I just started running every day and really loving it. Got to the point where about 4 miles felt pretty easy. And also around that time, my father became, he was so proud of me. Like, for the first time in my life, he was, really proud of what I was doing, running. And then I got up to about 7 miles, and make a long story short, I was like, okay, well, my friend's going to sign up for a triathlon. Maybe I'll do that with her. And I had a little training, not a lot, but I got through the triathlon. That was great. I loved the running the most. So I thought, how about a half marathon, right? So it's kind of a big jump, but I was hooked, and I did that half marathon. And I thought, what's stopping me from running a full 26.2-mile marathon? So I don't recommend this. I signed up for a marathon in March, the LA Marathon. 2008 was my first marathon, and I really started training in January. I do not recommend this, 2 to 3 months of training. So I really didn't know what I was doing. I made all the newbie mistakes. I went out too fast. I hit the wall at mile 12, I think. And for those of you who don't know what hitting the wall is, it's like you run out of glycogen, as David would say. It's like you're driving a car and you're stepping on the gas, nothing moves. Okay, this is mile 12. I'm like, I'm going to qualify for Boston. I'm going to run under 4 hours, all the things. But, I had to do that shuffle to the finish line. And when I got to the finish line, I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again. And then, right? A lot of us say that. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to redeem myself. I thought I'm going to have to redeem myself from that. And so I signed up for another marathon, and then just thought, I got this idea about qualifying for Boston, and I thought, I didn't know. I was such a newbie, like kind of ignorant. The more marathons you run, the faster you would get. No. I learned the hard way. So, but I was having fun. And that's the thing about it. If you're having fun, great. So I ran all these marathons. I think I ran like 12 in 1 year. And I think that's where the name Marathon Goddess came from, because I was just running all these marathons and having so much fun, even though I wasn't qualifying for Boston or really getting faster. I just became a goddess of marathons. I loved it.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, whether the Instagram, or whether not even just Instagram, because now it's like, that's your website, that's you. Did that name come before or after the marathons? Like after you started running marathons?
That name came when I started running all of these marathons, but not these marathons. I'll tell you about this later, but I just became, I just started really loving running marathons. And that's how I got, that's when I saw the name on the shirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. So that's where the name came from. And then when I started running for a cause, that was a whole different level. That was a whole nother thing. And I can tell you about that later. We can get into that. But when I started running for something bigger than myself, that's when I was like, oh, now I'm really, really embracing that, because it's really not about the marathons. This is not about me. This is about the people that I'm running for. And then I started really, truly embracing that goddess thing.
So if you can look back to that 2008 Julie, what words would you have for her?
Oh my gosh, hold on, girl. You're in for a ride.
Or even for that, for that Julie that said, I'm going to go out for 20 minutes because, and again, if you watch this on YouTube, or if you're listening, she's got 52 for you behind her, with 52 marathon medals on the wall behind her. So the you of today, what would you say to that Julie in Hawaii, where she thought, hey, 20 minutes, let me try? And I'll share for myself, right? When I kind of had the opposite experience of you, where I finished my first half marathon and I was like, I'm good. Like the half marathon, my first one, I hit the wall at mile 7.5. And then I had 2 more after that, because I personally fell in love with the process of training, running with a group. So before I had even ran 1 half marathon, I had signed up for 3. But that very first half marathon, I hit the wall. And when I finished, I felt incredibly proud of myself. And then I also felt like, wait, no, I need to redeem myself. I need to do that second half marathon and not hit the wall. And I remember back then, people would ask me, when are you doing a marathon? When are you doing a marathon? And my response was, I don't like to drive 26.2 miles. There's no way my body's going to move that. But people kept asking me, And then one year I left it up to the universe. I entered the lottery for the Chicago Marathon. And I said, if the universe wants me to run a marathon, I'll get selected. And I got selected. And that's when I ran my first marathon. And I think in a similar fashion, when I finished, I was like, that was the hardest thing ever. Oh my goodness. And a few weeks later, I was like, wait, I want to do it again. So I did not run 12 marathons like you in one year, but I have ran 3 marathons plus 1 ultra in one year. And for a while, that really worked for me. Then I had in 2018 a really bad experience during the marathon. And after that, I've personally have struggled so much with the distance. And it's not about being able to complete the distance, but the mental part of what happens when I'm doing the distance. But I also often think of, oh, that Steph from 2012, when I started running, she would not even be able to imagine me now. And I often think of like, what would I tell her when she first started? So that's the question. Like when you first started and knowing all that you know now about yourself and about where running has taken you, what would you tell her so that she could navigate whatever challenges or whatever tough races she might have so that she can get through it?
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm inspired by your story. And thank you for taking that time, because it really comes down to believing in yourself. And if you can, if I can tell you to believe in yourself, if I could tell Julie from 2008 to believe in yourself, you're going to make it. I think that was the number one thing I would tell her, because qualifying for Boston was a big goal for me. And I attempted that so many times. And finally, when it came down to being so close to that goal, all I thought about was believe that you can do it, believe in yourself. And I think that's one of the, and also to have compassion for yourself. Well, because a lot of times, we'll look at the times that we ran, the clock, what our marathon time was, and, think negatively about it, when it's like, just the fact that you're out there moving, you're taking steps, you're moving forward is wonderful. Everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So to have compassion for yourself, to have compassion for others around you, not to compare yourself. Now that, it's not easy. It's easier said than done, but I think it's so important to have compassion with yourself and not beat yourself up over whatever the time was on the clock, because it doesn't matter. It's a lesson. Okay, do it differently next time, but it's great. Finishing is winning. I think Rod Dixon said that. Rod Dixon won the 2003 or something New York Marathon. So finishing is winning. And so believing in yourself and having compassion, have some compassion for yourself is key. And I would tell myself that, and I would tell you that too, because just the fact that you're out there, you're breathing, you're moving your body, to me is a win.
Yeah. And I think I want to thank you for sharing that, because I feel like maybe me as a new runner accepted that a little bit easier than me now as like a more experienced. And by experience, I just mean because I've been running for, at this point, like consistently at the capacity that I am for 11 years. And I feel like in the beginning, I had so much fun and I was so gentle with myself. And then the comparison game kind of caught up, and that gentleness went away in a sense, because I felt like oh, everyone else is doing this race or everyone else is going after that goal, so I should do it too. And again, like that 2018 race that I had, that was a really rough experience. When I finished, I couldn't even, I didn't even give myself the ability to celebrate that I had finished.
Mm.
And that was pretty rough of like trying to get through that. So I really appreciate what you shared, because it is hard. And I think sometimes we do lose sight of that, the journey of start line to finish line, you
So
know?
true. So true. Anything can happen at the marathon, it's all about the journey. It really truly is. You can have a fantastic training journey leading up to the marathon, and then marathon day could be a total disaster. So you never know what you're going to get on race day. That's why it's so important to, like, as best you can, enjoy the journey along the way, because that's where it is. That's where the magic is, truly. And
Yeah.
once in a blue moon, you're going to have that race day where all the stars line up, and everything comes together, like that one, which I'll tell you about later. So
Yeah, that's what I try. I mean, now I understand that as someone who's taken more time to reflect on her race experiences versus, I think, criticize the performance of races, right? That they're, in order to have the day where everything comes together and you PR, like a lot has to come together, right? Your nutrition has to come together. Your mind has to be there. Your body has to be well and healthy and injury free. And again, those are things that I feel like when I first started running, I took for granted. And then I almost forgot about them. And now I'm trying to get back into remembering all those pieces of the puzzle that have to come together in order for running to be successful. And by successful, it's not necessarily tied to race times, but successful in that it feels good and that I am having fun doing it, because, running, and this, right? Like running marathons, training for marathons, that takes up a lot of time from your day, and it requires a lot of just awareness of what your habits are, so that you can show up as strongly as possible to your runs.
absolutely, 100%.
So tell me, actually, okay, can you see me okay?
Yes.
Okay, because you're frozen on my end.
Oh no, no, I'm still here.
Let's try. There you go. Now you're there. Okay, I see you moving now. I don't know what, I think I need to work on maybe just clicking stuff on my screen. All right. So you've gone from running all these marathons, and your dad was real pivotal in that. Tell us more of your running story in terms of how running changed from you, because you mentioned how running, it did change once you started running for something bigger than yourself. So can you walk us through that shift in your running?
Yes, there's sort of a big moment that happened in between there, if you'd like me to tell you about
Yeah.
first. That is, I had my dad become my number one fan when I decided I was going to qualify for Boston. He was so, like, excited about this goal, and we didn't have the best relationship growing up, but once I started running, it just brought out the best in me. It brought out the best in him. It wasn't
Was your
perfect.
dad a runner at all?
No, but he was athletic and he was competitive and he did sports, and uh, so I started feeling better about myself. You get the confidence as you train and run all these races, you get the medals, the confidence comes in. And so in attempting to qualify for Boston, he was always there, always saying, you're going to do it, doesn't matter what time. I'm just so proud of you. And I got to about marathon 16, and I decided to hire a coach who later became my husband. Hi, David. He's so weird. And he gave me a training plan, which I actually followed for once. And he was right. I had to take all of my, I was running all of those marathons at race pace. I wasn't doing any kind of real, that base, that foundation that we want to do. And so I got to the Long Beach Marathon, and I think I missed Boston by about 2 minutes. I had cut like 30 minutes off my marathon time. I ran a 3:52. I needed a 3:50. And, I called my dad, and he's like, it's okay. You're going to make it next time. You got under 4 hours. It's all good. And I was pretty disappointed. But the next day, sadly, my mom had called to tell me that my dad had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and that there was nothing the doctors could do. And I was like, oh, you're going to beat this. You're going to be the one that beats this. And he said, just keep training. Just don't worry about me. Just keep up with your training. I had another race. I signed up for CIM. I said, okay, that's the Sacramento race. And I said, you're going to come with me. You're going to see me qualify. We'll be there together. We got the reservations. And but sadly, my father passed away just 35 days after his diagnosis. And I was devastated. And the race was about 10 days away after the day that he died. And anyone would understand if I didn't run that race, but I had to. And I knew we ran it together because I qualified for Boston that day. I ran a 3:47:19.
Wow.
I remember goosebumps. And that's the picture, if you could see it, of me crossing the finish line. If you could see it, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was pointing to him in heaven as I crossed that finish line, because I knew we had done it together. And so after that, I thought, I'm going to need to do something bigger, something big to raise awareness and funds for this disease, because pancreatic cancer is one of the lowest funded cancers out there. And at the time, the survival rate was only 5%. 5% of people make it after 5 years, depending on when you catch it, mostly. But I didn't want anyone to have to suffer like my dad did. I needed to do something big to honor him, and everything he did, my dad did it big. So I was like, I ran the Boston Marathon. I ran it, and I'm like, okay, now I've got to do something more. But I ran it, and I ran a 3:59 in Boston. And I got that framed because I knew, it was very special. Anyways, so that's when I woke up and I had this crazy idea. I'm gonna run 52 marathons in 52 weeks. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I work full time. I'm gonna have to, my kids were like 10 and 15 at the time or something like that. And I thought, I'm gonna find a way, even if I have to move into my mom's house or something. I'm going to do this because it was calling me to do this thing. And so off I went. Sometimes running another marathon in a different country, city, or state, and flying out on a Friday, or driving somewhere and then coming back to work Monday morning. And so the first, and that's how I began running for a cause. For pancreatic cancer. All cancers suck, they do, but this was very personal to me, and I just didn't want anyone to have to suffer like my dad did, or any families out there. So off I went, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, truthfully.
How did you logistically do that? Because it's not that you said, I'm going to run 52 marathons in 52 weeks, and then you chose a course by your house and you did that. Like, you actually went to events, like you did races. How did you plan that out logistically? Like, from you having the idea to doing it, to you actually doing it, what was the planning like? Like, was it, you had the idea in May and then you started in June, or was there more like?
No, it was Actually, that's a great question, though. Thank you. And that's truly was the hardest part, the logistics, because running the race became the easier part once I got to the starting line. But no, I started planning it about, I would say, 6 months before. And I went on to marathonguide.com or something like that. And I looked up all the races that I could do, and seeing, within my budget, what the races that were closer. So I think I ended up choosing about 20, 25 or so, 22 in California, but the others were all across the United States and Canada. First one started in Rome. And, I collaborated with people. I did. There was no way I could have done this alone. It was such a big undertaking that I was almost paralyzed. And I tell people that, you don't have to do this alone, because there's no way I could have done it. I had my friend helping me register for races, because I was like, I this is a lot. And I had another friend who was a travel agent, and she was helping me book all of these races. And my husband was, driving me he went to about 40 of the races with me. We had the charity at the time was the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and they were behind this, and they sponsored a lot of this, and it was just a win-win when you collaborate with other people. But it was a lot, and I was exhausting, and I really had to take care of my body and drink a lot of also caffeine to make this work, because sometimes I'd get back to work on Monday and I'd be like, okay, the lights are on but nobody's home. Just but it was a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it sometimes.
I think I see that, and I am in awe of that, especially when you're factoring travel to it, especially if you're like in different time zones and whatnot. So how did you recover between those races?
Let's see. Recovering was key, because I just needed to get to the start line of the next race healthy. And I would stretch in the airport. I would bring my foam roller. I would bring those little, balls for my feet, those therapy balls. I would make sure I got enough protein. I think it was about 70 grams of protein I needed. I didn't have much of a social life. I was still, my kids were home and I was working. So the social thing was the marathons, and that's fine. Try to get as much sleep as you can. I tried not to run during the week, because it was basically a year of tapering, right?
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of strength training or stretching once a week with a trainer. I had a physical therapist that would, massage tight areas, and but it was a whole team. It wasn't just me. But I'm telling you, when you are passionate about something and you have purpose, there is no stopping you. I mean, you're going to create miracles. You're going to have this energy that you didn't even know you had when you have a goal that means so much to you.
What was your initial fundraising goal in that year?
So I set out to raise 1 million in hopes that I would raise it that first year. And I think when I was done, I had reached about $200,000. And that's a lot. And I remember the Today Show doing a piece on this journey, and they were saying, for Julie, the starting line is the beginning of the end of a journey of 52 marathons in 52 weeks. But they were actually right in one aspect, but the journey to raise the $1 million was still going. I was not done yet. And so it wasn't the end after the 52 marathons in 52 weeks, but it was a very, very inspirational journey for me. I met so many amazing people on this journey. I tell you, after about marathon number 5, I was thinking, these marathons are hard, they're challenging, they're fun, but I don't want this to be about the marathons or just about me. I want this to be about the people that I'm running for. So I'm sitting in the Colorado River and feeling like after a race, and I thought I'm going to put a post out on social media because I want to know these people. I want to run for these people. I want them to run with me. I want to run together. This is not just about my dad. This is about all of the people that I was running for. So I put that post out, and I just got so many messages back from so many different families and people who have been affected by this disease. And so then from about marathon 5 on, I started dedicating every single race to somebody who is affected by pancreatic cancer. And that made this journey so much more impactful and so much more meaningful. And, in some ways, had I raised that $1 million the first year, it wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have created some of these relationships that I did over the past 10 years, because that's how long it took to raise the.
Yeah. So
that.
before we get to that,
Uh-huh.
I'm curious as to, so were any of these races like charity entry races that contributed to that? Or were they all just, this is a weekend where there's a marathon, this is where it fits in with all of that, and then you just had like a general fundraising? Like how did I guess that bit of the logistics of fundraising for the organization, was anything tied to any of these specific races, or this was just, I'm signed up for these races, here's the link, your donation is going to help me physically, like it's going to help me mentally so that I can get through the race physically? Is that how it worked for you?
The donations were going straight to the charity. I had one link that was going straight to the charity, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network at the time. And I just, I had signed up for all these races. Some of them, the race directors would give me for free because I would tell them what I was doing. And others we had to pay for, but the charity had sponsored some of them. But we also brought in a big donation to cover that. So it was all a win-win situation where everyone benefited. And when these donations came in, it didn't matter if it was $1 or if it was $100 or $1,000. Every single dollar counted, and everyone had meaning behind it, and they all were so special, and they kept me going. There were with the messages of love and hope, and for their loved ones or things like that. And it was I would stay up probably sometimes really late before these marathons. I don't recommend that either. You need sleep. But I would write my dedications before every single marathon about the person that I was running for, or to their families. And so when I was out there running for these people, that's what kept me going, and the amount of money we raised it's all good, and it kept, it was the motivation behind it were these people that I was running for, and hearing their messages just kept me motivated.
Yeah, it's in a smaller scale than you, right? I think back to some of my races where whenever I'm struggling, I do think about it. I think about my family, and I think of the time they have sacrificed in order for me to have this dream of running this race. And that's just like a small one. But I had, this past April, I ran the London Marathon on behalf of a charity. And I can't tell you how many, it was at least like 2 or 3 times that I cried every time I passed where the charity was set up, because it was like, oh yeah, it's not me. And also like the freedom that comes from knowing, like, it doesn't matter your time. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Like, you're doing something for someone else. And that's what matters. Those people don't care. Like, like the people that you're impacting, they're not, a good chunk of them are probably going to be like, what's a marathon? Like, how long is that? Right? Like, they really don't care. We're the ones that kind of overthink that. And it was a reminder of, one, for me, like the importance of just always picking one race a year, even if it's just one, to fundraise, either officially through a charity or not, because it really does snap you out of your own like self-limiting stories, right? It really, like, at least for me, it was like, okay, no, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to gripe about it. I'm not going to be pouty, not when these miles mean something so much more. So for people who are listening to this and they are on the fence about doing a race for charity or on behalf of charity, what words of encouragement do you have for them? And I say it specifically because we have a lot of these races, again, like I'll say in specific, right? We have our marathon majors, right? Those are big races. Everybody wants to do them. They enter the lottery, but they don't get in. But these are also races that have so many charity partners. So what words of advice, words of encouragement would you have for runners out there that are, again, like kind of on the fence of, should I do this for charity? Should I not? And then how am I going to raise all that money?
That's a great question. And there are so many wonderful charities out there, and just, pay attention to the ones that speak to your heart. And when you find one, you will get this new, it'll be a different feeling. You'll get more energy. You'll be out there running for a purpose. And I think it's when it's your first time out there running for a cause, it's a little bit, it can be a little intimidating to go out there and ask for money, from your friends, family, coworkers, but it gets easier when, get your elevator speech out there and your cause and your why. Your why is so important. It doesn't have to be a long pitch, just tell them what you're doing. And most time, the first time out there, when you're fundraising, people will donate. You just have to have the courage to do it. And once you start doing it, it becomes easier and easier. I was terrified, truthfully, when I would, give speeches or have to go out there. But I was also courageous. It didn't stop me. I was terrified, and I would do it. And I was amazed at how many people out there were supportive, and you will be too. And don't, even if they say, you're going to get probably one or two for every maybe 10 people you ask. Not everyone is going to jump on and start donating, but don't give up. I mean, I didn't give up in my fundraising goal. I kept going even after the 52 marathons. And it's really about this, the people that you're gonna meet. You're gonna strike up conversations. You'll find people that have the same purpose even, and may even want to join you. That's the thing, is that you never even know who you're inspiring by doing something like this. Not just with a cause, but the run itself. And I think it's just, ask your neighbors, ask your family, your employer. Maybe they'll match. Maybe they'll do something like that. Maybe they have a foundation. It's just there's endless possibilities if you just have the courage and then the consistency to keep on going and never giving up, because now you have your why. And I have a quote that I thought of. It's when you're doing something that you love for someone or something you love, that's where the miracles happen. And that's the truth.
Yeah, I've ran for several different organizations, and even though they're different, they're all about children. They're all in service of children. So I agree with you on that of like, find the cause that speaks to your heart, because then when you make the request, and I love that you said courage, because courage does take heart, like core in the word courage means heart. And it really is that of like finding the organizations that do speak to you, so that when you're asking people for money or you're asking for donations, it's not a stretch. Like it's something that you would support, or I guess the way I see it too is like, go find something that you would support yourself, and then be their biggest advocate, be their biggest cheerleader. And also, like, I agree with the asking. I know anytime I fundraise, I feel like I am so annoying, because I feel like I'm asking over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And what I realized this past, training cycle, and just in other things that I do, I'm like, I can ask over and over and over again. And there's a lot of people, like, I think I'm being annoying, but for some people, it's the first time that they're even seeing that I'm asking. So I'm worried about being annoying to people who haven't even seen it the first time around. And I think even something else that you shared earlier, I think it's so true, is telling people that no donation is too small. If $1 is what you've got, $1 is what you've got. And it's just as accepted and like praised as the bigger donations. So taking us back, or filling that gap for us. So between 2013, you raised $200,000. How did you get to that $1 million mark?
Never giving up. Never giving up. That's really what it comes down to. I think that there were times that I was like, oh my gosh, this is never, but I kept coming up with different running streaks, different things that I could do to keep the money coming up and the awareness. I did once, I think it was 52 races for 52 faces, which was not a marathon each week, but it was like a 5K, a 10K, or a marathon or a half marathon. I did that. And I did, you just get creative. You get creative and see what, some people do, fundraisers, you can auction off things like that. But I just kept going. I just kept asking people. I asked a lot of different foundations. My employer was a big donor in this, and they would contribute every year. And I just, I just kept at it, and I just kept raising money and telling all the people of all of the wonderful things that this money is doing. Like at the time, the survival rate was 5%. And as of last year, it was 12%. 12%. Okay. So this money is, and the impact that their money is having is working. So you share all of the progress that the charity is doing and all the things that they're doing to make this, this pancreatic cancer curable is what we want. And I think my last running streak was, what I did is I took we were at 11% survival rate. And I'm not running, a marathon a week anymore. But I thought maybe I can run 11 marathons in 11 months to share awareness on the survival rate being 11%. Plus, I love the 11-11 thing. So I started running 1 marathon a month. And I'm older now and not as fit, but I got injured. I think it was a marathon 3 or 4. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do the 11 marathons, but I'll just change it to 11, races. And so you keep going no matter what. You're going to have to be flexible and shift and, do things because life happens, right? Don't push yourself too much, like I did, because I think that's how I got injured. I think self-care is so important in whatever you do. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, and you're heading out for any kind of a, journey to help others. Make sure you help, take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when I was about, I think race number I don't know, I think it was a San Francisco marathon or something like that, but the survival rate had bumped up to 12%. Sorry about that. I got texting going.
No, you're good.
Turn that off. But the survival rate went up to 12%. So then I said, okay, then I'm going to make it 12 races in 12 months. And so the LA Marathon was the 12th race in 12 months. And I did get the final pledge to raise that $1 million. And see, you just keep going. You never give up, no matter how long it takes. There's another quote that I like to say by Earl Nightingale. He says, never give up on a goal because of the time it takes to accomplish it. The time will pass anyways. And so I'm so grateful. So grateful.
I love that, because just so that everyone's clear, right? You initially set this goal for yourself in 2013, right? Or 2013 is when you started the 52 races. Yeah.
It was actually 2012 when
2012, the planning.
2013. Yeah, but it was like when I finished the 52 marathons, from then it was another 10 years until I reached that goal on the anniversary of the 10-year anniversary. So of finishing the 52. So it was super special. It was
LA Marathon on both ends. Like LA Marathon was the last of the 52 that you ran.
The LA Marathon was the last of the 52. The first was the Rome Marathon, Maratona de Roma. It's right here. It looks like an ancient artifact. It's a beautiful medal. And that was the same day as the LA Marathon. And I was like, can I do both? No, I couldn't do both. So, but they filmed a movie that it's unfortunately not available online right now. It's called The Spirit of the Marathon 2. Spirit of the Marathon 1 is still available, but you can't get the second one. But they did a beautiful movie called The Spirit of the Marathon 2. I think you can get a DVD. I have DVDs if anybody still has a DVD machine. But that's started. So that's where I started, and then I finished at the LA Marathon March 17th. 2013, and this year the LA Marathon is going to be on St. Patrick's Day again, actually March 17th, 2023. So we're still running, we're still going, but you don't have to be extreme like I
Are you still fundraising? Is that still something that you're actively doing?
Absolutely. I have the Hirschberg training team shirt on here. And the Hirschberg Foundation for Pancreatic Cancer Research is our local charity here in LA, but they fund research and seed grants all across, all across the world, in fact. And they're an official charity of the Los Angeles Marathon. So if anybody wants to run for a cause at the LA Marathon, the Hirschberg training team is one of them. There are many others. And the McCourt Foundation, they're just okay. I love that marathon like no other. It's my first marathon. It's my 100th marathon. I've run now 100, and it'll be my 117th marathon this coming March 2024. That's a lot.
That is. It's a lot. And then when you think of what your body has gone through, of 52 of those were done in 1 year, and then you've got, how many marathons had you ran before you set this 52 and 52 weeks goal?
Great question. I was already, I think, about 25. I had about 25 down when I started the 52 marathons in 52 weeks. So
yeah, so we've got, like, let's say 25 plus 52, 77, and then you're going to be at 117, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the time afterwards, and maybe we're talking about a lot of marathon running in I mean a decent size. If you had to think back, which one was the most, which one was the most memorable, and then which one was the most meaningful?
Oh gosh.
I know we're going through the archives here.
was the most memorable and the most meaningful? Oh my gosh. I don't know why, but the one that comes to mind is the ET full moon marathon. It was run at midnight. So I don't know why, but that one, I'm not a night runner. So running in Area 51, where the aliens are supposedly in the dark, and it was
Was that like a trail run? Like,
no, not really. No, it was a really well put on race, but it was tough running in the dark. You couldn't really see the elevation. I'm like really tired, and at 4 a.m, it's dark, and I just see lights ahead. I'm like, that's it. The aliens are coming. Take me. And then it was my husband, and he was there, and he ran the last 8 miles, and I crossed the finish line at like 4 a.m, and the beautiful sunrise was coming up on what would have been my dad's birthday. And so it was like pretty miraculous and memorable. Another one was the Leadville Marathon. Talk about courage. Okay, there wasn't really any races that weekend other than the Leadville Marathon, which is starts at 10,000 feet, goes up to 13,000 feet. That's a trail marathon. And I had never had altitude training or anything, but I showed up at that race, and I just needed to make the cutoffs, and I did. But we almost missed our plane coming.
you make the cutoffs on the race, but you almost missed the plane.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have time to shower. I felt really bad for the people sitting next to me. So those were very memorable. And there were so many special ones. Running across the finish line with pancreatic cancer survivors. And
How often have you done that?
Probably 2 or 3 times. The first one was with Paul Perkovic. It was the the Half Moon Bay Marathon. He crossed the finish line with me, and that was super special. And then Lupe Ramiro de la Cruz, my soul sister, she was a 7-year pancreatic cancer survivor, a marathon runner. She did the LA Marathon, I think like 11 or 12 times. And I ran the 52nd marathon in 52 weeks, the LA Marathon in 2013. She met me at mile 25, and we crossed that finish line together. And she's so special. Sadly, she passed away a couple of years ago due to complications. But we went on to do so many more races together. And she's, every time I look at the sun, I know she's there. I know our loved ones are there. They're still there cheering for us. I know that. I miss her a lot, but she had a real, she talk about inspiration, and her smile would just light up a room. And she told me that I was her sunshine, but she was my sunshine. She still is, and she's still running races with me today. I still think about her and so many other people that I've run for, and the way they live their lives. And I think their energy is still out there, and they're with us in a different form.
Well, it's almost like, I know you've ran a lot of marathons, and I feel like, I know for myself, again, I haven't ran as many as you have. I'm nowhere near that. And yet when I think of the different races, I can recall pretty well the feeling of crossing that finish line, of just the experience of that race. So for you to have so many memories wrapped up into these races, I guess it's like, how do you hold all that? How do you hold all that energy, all those feelings?
I hold them in my heart. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of love for all of them. I just, it's hard. People ask me, how do you do that? You meet all these people, and then you lose a lot of, and I'm like, well, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm so inspired by them and their courage and the way they live their lives. I got to give a shout out to David Rudder, who I just ran. He just passed away a few days ago. He was 60 years old. Just this beautiful soul that when I was running my 12 races in 12, I guess it was 12 months, I chose the Ventura Marathon for him. I did the half marathon, and I chose it on a day that happened to be his 60th birthday. And it's like, when the universe is just conspires to like tell
Bring
you
it
you're,
all together. Yes.
and it's like, that's when you are on the right track. You get these little signs from the universe. And that's how I know, even though it's hard to hold it together and hold all these people and hold space, when I get signs like that from the universe, then I know that I'm on the right track. And they keep me going. I am motivated by them. I have another friend I'm running with right now who's currently, going through breast cancer, and she is a freaking rock star. I mean, she's more motivated than I am. I'm like, that's my why. And I love that connection that the universe brings us all together to help each other and to be of service to each other. And that's why I keep going.
I love that sentiment because I'm such a big believer in that, of like the universe is constantly conspiring for our greater good, right? Like it's what are the chances, even just now, it's like, what are the chances that you and I are here talking, and we don't know where it's going to ripple from us. Just like when at least, and this is just going way out there, but I know for myself, like there are moments where I step back and I'm like, wow, this and this and this and this and this and this all had to happen in order for this one moment to happen. So this moment, it is a gift. Us being here is a gift because so many different choices, so many things could have happened that would have taken us away from being here. And I feel like running in the way that you do, perhaps that is more present for you, right? Whereas a lot of us will run and it's just going through the motions of another race, another that. So if there's something you can tell us of like, how do we break out of that? Of like, oh, I have to do the speed work this day, or I did the speed work, but it didn't work out. And now I'm all like, ugh. How do we go beyond that to, like experience that I get from you? Like, it's not just gratitude, but also like this awe, like the awe of simply being alive in this moment.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because when you say, oh, I got to do the speed work, or I got to do this, or I got to do my long run, it's like, you may have heard a lot of people saying, no, you get to.
Mm-hmm.
You get to. Do you know what a gift that is, that you can actually do that? And so many can't. So many wish they could. And for you to be able to get out there and even run 1 mile is a gift. So it's not easy to like break through that and hit your goals every time. And there's going to be days that are like blah. You are not going to be feeling it. And that's okay, because not every day is going to be sunshine and roses and rainbows. So you just have to keep going. And when you're fired up about a goal, or you have this purpose, and you're going to do it no matter what. And you just got to sometimes just force yourself out the door. You just do. I had to do that the other day. I'm like, oh. But I pushed myself out the door, got out there. I did 5 miles. I was like, okay, I feel much better. It wasn't like the greatest run, but you got it done, you got it done. And you feel better. Good job. And be proud of yourself, because it's not easy. We have a lot of things going on in our lives, and it comes back to that compassion. I think have some compassion for yourself, because it's not easy, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, that's oftentimes when I have a run that I don't want to do, and I'm like, I'm too tired, I don't want to do it. I have to remind myself of, you're going to feel great when you finish. Like right now, you may not feel it, but when you finish, you're going to be so proud that you did it. And that's oftentimes what helps me get out the door of, it's just thinking of that, of like, wait, I'm going to be really proud of myself when I finish. And that's something that no one can take away from me. And also like no one can give to me, right? Like that pride is going to come from myself.
Absolutely. Good job.
Yeah. It's like, yes, I did it. I have a question for you because I watched your TED Talk, and I'll make sure to link it here so people can watch it as well. And I personally, I'm a lover of words, and I believe words have the power to elevate us, and then they can also diminish us, right? Like they can make us greater, they can hurt. And in your TED Talk, you talk about the importance of language, of shifting from I'm going for a run to I'm going to become a runner.
Yay. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes.
So when I heard that, and if anyone wants to go back through the archives of Runners Roundtable, the very first podcast that I ever recorded was titled Who's a Runner? And who's a runner? I think it's who's a runner, or what does it mean to be a runner? I can't remember exactly right now. But that entire episode was spent with us talking about the word runner and what does it mean. So I really appreciated that, because I find that oftentimes, and I'm very guilty of this, where I was running and I was doing half marathons and I still didn't call myself a runner. I was still like, no, I just do that thing. But what you are encouraging or inviting us all to do is to start embodying that identity. How did you get there? And did you ever experience at any point in your running journey this, like that disconnect of, wait, I'm doing the running, but I don't really feel like a runner?
Thank you for all of that, by the way, and mentioning that, because it's so important and is life-changing when you can transform the way that you think about exercise. And that's what I talk about in my TED Talk, because there were times when I would see all these groups of people running on the beach, training for a marathon, and like I would start crying because it was so beautiful what they were doing. And I wanted to be a part of them, a part of that. But there was this wall between us that I just couldn't break through. And when my dad said, Julie, why don't you go train with the LA Roadrunners? And I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I showed up. There's that courage thing again. I showed up and I'm like, I'm going to become a runner. I am not just going for a running, or now I'm a runner. Okay. And I think it was Bart Yasso that says there's no fake runners. That's not a thing, right? That's not a thing. But a lot of people don't know that, it's about embracing it in a different way. And if running is not your thing and it's swimming, then you are not just going for a swim. You are now going to become a swimmer. You're not just going to do some yoga. I mean, you can if you want, but you are going to become a yogi, right? Because it's a new way of seeing who you are and who you are truly meant to be in this world. And that's the beauty of just shifting your perception. Really, that's what it is. It's just a mindset shift. And so I think there were times I didn't think I was a real runner when I was struggling, but once I joined that running group, I was going to become a runner, and look what happened. So embrace it. Become it.
I just wrote it down listening to what you're saying, because it's so often we think of the doing piece, and again, the invitation is to be in it, right? And even beyond that, there's, I feel like implicit in what you're saying is that when you're being something, you're never done. You're never done growing. you're always in a state of becoming. And I find that to be such a beautiful invitation to reflect on for all of us, right? Because I'm going to assume, based on what you've said, is that you're not necessarily still running 52 marathons a year, right? Like your relationship to running has evolved. And saying I'm going to become a runner allows space for that evolution to exist.
That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, I mean, it's that's what I get from what you're saying. You can tell me, no, Steph, that's not it at all, because I guess I can ask you that question of like, where are you with running right now?
Well, I love what you said, and I agree. And I think once you embrace running or becoming a runner or becoming a swimmer or becoming a walker, I mean, you can walk a marathon. We have a walking program, a run walk, you know, you're not just going for a walk, you're a walker now. Okay. So once you embrace that and it becomes a part of who you truly are, it takes on a whole new meaning. And where I am with running right now is I am trying to get my groove back, you know, as far as training goes again, because I'm a grandmother now. And I spend a lot of time with my grandkids, and I love that. And but I also want to qualify for Boston again, because why not? You know, so there's that part of me. I'll always be a runner because that's who I am. I'll always be that. And, it's just a matter of priorities and how much time you want to put into it. And it's just comes back to goal setting, creating a goal for yourself. I actually have created a speech because I love doing motivational speeches. That's kind of my new thing, where instead of running a million marathons, I can get up on a stage and tell people, share my story and share some tools for others who might want to, break out of some bad habits they have or come out of their comfort zone, that kind of thing. And so, we'll see. Training for the LA Marathon starts September 16th, LA Marathon 2024. And it's a little sticker in case
I
you're
love the
listening.
gear.
And I like to see if I could, qualify for Boston or get a PR at age 53, because why not? Let's just see if we could do it. No pressure. Let's just see how it goes. I'm in a much better place with my running now than I was. I don't beat myself up as much. I've done enough of that for everyone. So I'm having more compassion for myself as far as, training goes. It just takes consistency and courage and all of those things that I talk about in my speech, but it is possible. And then when you have a cause, and when, I'm still fundraising and I'm still running for other people, that just makes it so much more meaningful and so much more special. And just remembering what a gift it is to be able to get out there and go for a run. You don't got to, you get to.
Yeah. Now, we obviously cannot finish this conversation without talking about another marathon, except it wasn't one of the feet. It was probably one of the mind. Can you tell us, how was the process writing your book? Because I'm sure that wasn't like, oh, okay, today I'm going to write a book and then we're done, right? Like, I'm sure that was there's editing process. There's you gathering your thoughts. I don't know if when you were doing the 52 marathons, if you were like journaling throughout it and kind of keeping track of it, but tell us about your book. Tell us how that process was for you. And I know you have the medals behind you and that you have raised an incredible amount of money. But now that this book is out into the world, a piece of your story becomes a piece of everyone else's story when they read your words. So how was that?
Yes, you were right. That was a marathon in itself. My book, here it is. 52 weeks, 52 marathons, the miles and trials of a marathon goddess. And this came out in 2019. So it was 6 years basically after I finished the 52 marathons. And I had tried many different ways to, I did a lot of blogs when I was running the 52 marathon. So I had a lot of notes on how I was feeling and my emotions, and I remember them too. But I needed help. So there's the collaboration piece again. Okay. So I really manifested the best co-writer that I possibly could. And he helped me, and John Hance and Allie Nolan, both incredible writers. So we all got together and we worked on this beautiful book that so many people have told me that they loved it and they could relate to it, because, I wasn't an elite athlete growing up. I'm not an elite athlete. I didn't even do any sports in school. So I think a lot of people can relate to that, because people see this journey and think, oh, she was probably, a runner in high school and all that. But no, not even close. I started running sort of as a midlife crisis. So we took all of those emotions and all of the experiences, not all of them, but a lot of that, and wrote this beautiful book together that has inspired a lot of people. And it was a hard process. It was took about a year and a half once I finally, got the writers together, and we all worked on it together and met and did the auto. It's a lot that goes into it, and the cover and all of
the praise, yeah, forward, all of that.
Yeah, so I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud that today it's still inspiring other people that tell me about, they read my book. I'm like, you did? Okay, I'm glad you liked it, because it means a lot to me. There's a lot of heart in this book. It's on Amazon if you want to get it, and it's also available at Barnes and Noble, The Miles and Trials of a Marathon Goddess. And also there's an Audible version that I narrated, and I also wrote a children's book. This one was easier. This is like a really odd I wanted my granddaughters to be able to read about the journey and inspire them, inspire all kids, so that kids can do whatever they believe in their dreams, and do whatever they want to do in their life, because I don't know, I thought it's cute. So I have both books available on Amazon, and I'm very grateful for the whole process. It wasn't easy, but we got it done. I was training for a marathon while writing this, and I had to sort of choose, okay, do I want to PR now, or do I want to get this book out? And so having a book in me for so long was almost like being pregnant for 8 years.
Yeah. It's a whole different kind. I was going to say that's like a whole different birthing process.
It was, and it was also terrifying, because it's like, oh my God, now my book is out in the world, and what are people going to say? What are they going to think? But I received a lot of comments. People just seem to relate, and I'm so grateful for that I could if you inspire one person, God bless you, but if you can inspire even more and be even more of service, that's how I have to look at it. It's my it's my way of serving others, is by sharing my story. And so they can see, if someone like me can do something like this, maybe they can do it too. It doesn't have to be 52 marathons in 52 weeks, but whatever it is, it speaks to your heart, if you have the courage to do it. And I have a lot of tools that I can share with you in my speech as well, but it's possible. Another quote. You ready?
Yeah, let's have it.
This one is by C.S. Lewis, and he says, you're never too old or never too young to set a new goal or dream a new dream.
Yeah. With that, I have 2 more questions for you. How do we, as people who are already in the sport, how do we get new people to believe in themselves and to dream the dreams that you and I dream? right? Because there's so many people that I find like, and I'm sure you get it quite often too, of like, I would love to run, but I'm not a runner, or I would love to run, but I don't want to do it by myself, or any of that. How do we support people in either achieving that dream or maybe discovering the dream for themselves?
Well, I think that if there's someone who is, really wants to become a runner, really wants to do something, but they're afraid, I would suggest reaching out to someone who's already doing it. Someone who inspires you, or even a friend, or there's running clubs, there's training programs out there, and people really are, there's so much support out there for you. And I know it can be scary. I know it can be, but if you reach out to a friend or find a local running club and just show up, once you show up, you're already winning, just by showing up, just do one step, just do one thing towards that goal. It can be something little, doesn't matter, but send the email, whatever it is. Have the courage to send the email and ask about that running club, when they meet, where they meet, and then show up, and then believe in yourself, because once you do that one step, okay, my ring says believe.
There
See?
you go.
And you can say, oh, I did that little step, so maybe I can build on that and do another step. And you just take these baby steps, one foot in front of the other. They don't have to be huge, they don't have to be extreme, but and remember, there's going to be times you're 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's not going to be linear, a straight line. You're going to
Yeah.
have moments, but once you just take that first step towards your goal, and then you've done that, okay, think about your first step, you did that, and then you get the confidence to do it again. And then maybe now you've got a running club that you've joined. Okay, now you just have to show up. Okay, just keep showing up, and before you know it, you gain that confidence, and you've gone from a couch to a 5K, and then like maybe you've done that 5K, and then maybe you want to do a 10K after that. But it just starts with doing one thing. Or if you're feeling nutritional, or if you want to just get more healthy, just do one thing for yourself to get healthy, just like my husband says, like reach for the almonds instead of
The bad chips.
exactly, just one thing though. Show yourself that you can do it, and then go back to that, and remember you did that, so you can do it again, and you can keep doing it, and suddenly you're going to start feeling more confident and more healthy, and you're going to start enjoying it. And that's really important, that you're enjoying the process. But remember, it's not all going to be joyful every single day. You're going to have those days, but I think the most important thing is just to keep going.
It's like, to kind of like wrap up a lot of what you've said, it's like believe in yourself enough to take that first step, and then believe in yourself enough to continue taking steps. And I have someone in my life, and she has said, and it's a quote, she said this, and I take it with me everywhere, where it's every step forward is still a step forward, right? Like it doesn't have to be a big one, it can be a small one, but it's still forward movement is forward movement. And I appreciate that that's the message here, because it's true. It's all it starts is with one step, and continuing to take little steps, little steps, little steps, little steps. It's the same. It's like, right, none of us start off running. We start off walking, and then we start up speeding up those little walks, and then eventually we'll get to running. No one starts off running a marathon. You start off with that 1 minute interval of running, or whatever the case is. And it is that with joining run clubs, becoming a runner, becoming anything that you do, it starts off with being a beginner, and then finding your community. Because I know for myself, it's like, oh man, once you find that community, it makes it a lot. It's like I say, it's like, it's not that the running for myself has gotten easier. it's that my perception of the effort has gotten easier because I'm surrounded by such a great people, or I'm participating in such incredible events. It's not that it has not gotten easy. Like, y'all, running is not easy, but the joy from the people, from the experience with it, it makes it feel a little bit easier. So I love that. All right, you've got a book out. You've got lots of races under your belt. What does the future look like for you? And what's coming up for you that we can celebrate?
I think, thank you. Thank you for asking. I don't know what the future holds. We don't even know, right? I'm just like embracing this present moment that is so beautiful with, being here today and sharing my story with all of your listeners, and hoping that I've inspired you in some way, just to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's like a marathon, right?
Yeah.
One foot in front of the other, you're going to get to the finish line, no matter how big or small those steps are. I've just been continuing on this journey, and right now my new goal is not obviously, but I want to see if I can get faster again, better after 50 or whatever they say. Let's see. If not, that's not a big deal. Again, it's the journey. The LA Marathon is coming up in March 17th, 2024. My husband is a coach for the LA Roadrunners. Training kicks off September 16th. And if you're excited about training for a marathon, the LA Roadrunners is fantastic. They have levels for everyone. If you're a walker, if you're a runner, if you're a run walker, if you're fast, doesn't matter. They have groups for everyone. And as you were saying, the community, it helps so much, because when you've got those longer runs, and you like a, I don't know, 10-mile run is a long run for me right now. And when you do it with a group, it just flies by. It does. Like, before you know it, you're done, and you had so much fun, and you're talking, and you're making new friends. So the LA Marathon, LA Roadrunners, I think you can go to laroadrunners.com or the McCourt Foundation to check that out. There's also the Hirschberg training team. I'm a part of that as well. If you want to join a charity, find one that speaks to your heart. And also, since I'm not running a marathon a week anymore, I'm working on my motivational speaking, because I'd love to do that instead of, having to, run
races.
I've run so many already, and I love running races. I just think that I can reach more people by getting out there in groups and sharing my story with others, in hopes to inspire them to do what they love too. And so I've got a great speech with a lot of different tools that can help in all different areas, not just running, but in the corporations. And I think it translates because of shared experiences that I've had, that I can show others that they can do it too. It doesn't have to be marathons, it can be anything. So I'm excited about that. I think that we all have a gift, and I think that one of my gifts that I got from my dad is being on. We love to just be out there in the world and connecting with others. I think that's I love being of service to others in that way, and connecting with them, and not necessarily running all the marathons, but just sharing our stories and helping others in that way, and also continuing to raise money for pancreatic cancer, because cancer sucks.
Yeah. All right, final thing, where can we follow along everything that you've got going on?
Thank you for asking. I've got my website is marathongoddess.com. I'm at Marathon Goddess on Instagram and Facebook, and I don't do a lot of TikToking at the moment or things, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
But I am on TikTok and Twitter, and but mostly Instagram and Facebook, because that's where it started. So here you can find me there, or my website, marathongoddess.com, and the link to donate is on the website, and the link to the TED Talk is there, and the link to
your book.
My book is on the website as well. So hopefully I'll have a schedule up there soon of upcoming races and speeches. And if you're interested, let me know. Julie at Marathon. Yeah, you can email me, Julie at marathongoddess.com, if you want to reach out.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us this week. Julie, your words today are, I'm in the middle of training for Marine Corps marathon. So I want you to know that your words for me personally have helped put things into perspective of I get to do this. And every day that I go out for a run, it's a choice that I'm making because I get to make that choice. And tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And right, in your case, life shifted dramatically in 35 days. And I think going into each day with an awareness of like, this is what I have today. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Things can change, they can remain the same. But for today, I can and I will. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yes, today is a gift. It's every day is a gift. And it's so important to remember that what a gift and how lucky we are to be alive.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Until the next episode. Bye.
Hey, we got this.